Hi, this is Nahid Kazaza, and welcome to the Improving Stressful Relationships series. Today I'm going to address a specific question that came through from one of our participants. As we walk through the example, you'll see our relationship tools in action, and I'm sure you'll resonate with at least some of what she's going through. Here's the question. Hi, Nahid. I'm currently living with my adult daughter and her husband and two kids. During this pandemic, she's trying to do her job from home, keep the children on track with their schoolwork, and also find ways to exercise and keep the house clean. She's understandably stressed, but I don't think I realized in the past how negatively her anger comes out in the household. She's mad at everyone all the time, and it's affecting all of us. I'm an Enneagram 9, she's a 1, and her husband is a 7. Is there anything I can do to help her feel less stressed or stop taking her anger out on others? First of all, I should explain what the Enneagram is. This is one of my favorite deep personal growth assessments. And one thing it helps each of us do is discover our path of personal and spiritual growth. The Enneagram has 9 basic types, and without getting into a lot of details about the assessment itself, you can see that the 3 types in this family dynamic are number 1, the perfectionist, number 7, the enthusiast, and number 9, the peacemaker. Let's go a little bit more deeply into these 3 styles, and I'll share with you what one of the main unmet needs are for each type. So for the mom, our 1, a perfectionist needs things to be right. And when a perfectionist is stressed, they tend to go into fixing behavior or criticizing behavior. And they might try desperately to fix or criticize themselves, or they may unleash that on others. And so they may come across as very critical. At their best, they see the perfection in the messiness. A 7 needs fun and joy. And when a 7 is stressed, they tend to get frenetic. They tend to escape and go from one thing to the next. They want all the flavors of ice cream. They'll start an activity that they think will be fun, and then they'll move to the next activity and the next activity and the next activity. So it's hard for a 7 to settle down. But at their best, they begin to find joy in the present, even if they're doing something mundane like a household chore. The 9, the peacemaker, their unmet need is peace and harmony. When they're stressed, just to get along with everybody, they make themselves insignificant and tend to withdraw and not share their opinion. At their best, they find their voice and recognize how it contributes to the whole. I'm going to make some guesses about the family dynamic based on their Enneagram types, and then we'll talk about what grandma can do to help. So first, let's talk about mom. As a 1, she's taking responsibility for everything. She feels the weight on her shoulders, but she also resents it because in a perfect world, she would be getting more help and everyone else in the family would be as responsible as she is. This drives her crazy. And she probably holds it in as long as she can, but it drips out in her tone of voice. And then when she completely runs out of energy, she probably yells and says mean and critical things to others. Dad, as a 7, is trying his best to make things fun. He likely plays with the kids and does a lot of joking around to break the tension. He won't be taking school or anything as seriously as mom, and that probably gets under mom's skin. He may try to protect the kids from negativity by distracting them. He probably won't have serious conversations with mom because his go-to pattern is to joke or to make things fun to relieve the tension. So they're not dealing with this conflict in all likelihood. Let's take a look at grandma. So grandma's the one that wrote in the question, and as a 9, she's desperate for a harmonious family. She wants to do anything she can to make things better, but doesn't want to step in where she doesn't belong. Likely, she withdraws under stress and silently helps in the background wherever she can. We've talked a lot in this series about the importance of getting your needs met, and how we all have to take responsibility for getting our own needs met in order to ultimately feel happy and peaceful on the inside, which makes us more effective on the outside. There's a pattern that people go through around their unmet needs, and that is that they usually focus outside of themselves, searching to get their needs met by the situation they're in. They do this until they learn these concepts and do the personal growth work that helps them identify and take responsibility for getting their needs met. Then they begin to get their needs met on the inside. In other words, one of the main reasons we have unmet needs is because we aren't allowing ourselves to have those things. An example is people seeking outside of themselves for a job or career to make them happy, but then their excitement quickly turns to boredom and disengagement once they get the job. Or people trying to get others to approve of them or to appreciate them, but not really realizing that with their negative self-talk, they're dismissing any of the positive regard that they get from other people. There's an old poster I remember having on my wall when I was younger, and it said something like, "Happiness is like a butterfly. If you chase it, it flies away, but if you stand still, it might alight on your shoulder." And this is exactly what happens as people grow through getting their needs met. For Mom, as a one, instead of trying to create perfection all around her, outside herself, and trying to force that, she ends up settling in to her love of perfection and seeing it in everything around her, even in messes or mistakes or chaos. Dad, as a seven, will look for joy inside of him instead of running around trying to find joyful situations outside of him. And he'll ultimately find that anything he's doing, no matter how boring or mundane, is actually fun and joyful. Grandma, instead of putting herself aside and looking around her and being very disturbed by the disharmony outside of her, wishing that there's something that she could do to make it change, and backing away from it so that she adds even less disruption to the mix, she'll find that inner peace and harmony inside her. And in finding that, she'll tend to emanate it out. So let's talk about what Grandma can do in this situation to create more harmony in the household. So what a nine will do is make themselves insignificant. They'll take their voice out of the mix in order to create harmony for the sake of harmony. What we want Grandma to do is the opposite of that. We want her to speak her voice and to emanate her energy. We want her to put herself into the mix because in putting herself into the mix, she can actually infuse peace and harmony into the dynamic of the family. And she might do this by making strategic comments. So, for example, to her daughter, "This chaos is not a bad thing. It's better for the kids to have you not stressed than to stay caught up in school." She might say to the kids on the sideline, "Mommy always loves you, even when she seems mad," so that reassurance will calm the kids down. To her daughter, she might say, "Your emotions are infectious. So what can we do together to make you feel less stress?" Maybe we can reframe perfection to mean going a full day infecting those around you with love. And she can flood her daughter with unconditional love and acceptance because this will infect her daughter and calm her down. So the main thing for the grandma here who's trying to have a positive difference is instead of quietly working in the background and trying to help them resolve their differences, what we want her to do is squarely put her own energy into the mix to get more actively involved, to talk, and her strong, peaceful presence should play an active part in calming everyone down in the family. So since none of us will have time later, I'm going to ask you to open your email program now and write me an email. My address is here on the screen, nahid@coachnahid.com. You can make the subject relationship class. And then I'm only going to ask you two questions. First is, what was the most valuable thing you got out of the class today? And maybe add what you're going to do about it. And the second is, what's a challenge you're currently facing, maybe in a relationship, that you'd like to see me cover in an upcoming class? Be sure to give enough detail like we did today so that others will be able to imagine themselves in your situation. Remember, these situational videos, they come from questions that are emailed to me. If you enjoyed this class, you're welcome to share it with anyone you'd like. In fact, I'd love the exposure, so please feel free to post it on social media and share what you loved about it. If you're watching this video because someone sent you the link and you're not yet on my email list, simply go to coachnahid.com and opt in when invited. That way you'll get the whole series of classes sent to you, and you'll also get invitations to our live Q&A sessions. Finally, if you'd like coaching or more in-depth support when it comes to putting these tools and techniques into action, feel free to request a coaching consultation. We work with people individually, in small groups, and in organizations, so there's sure to be a format that works for you. Thanks for participating, and don't forget to send that email to me so I can be sure to address your specific issues. Take care and see you next time.